Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I mean, we could stay and just continue to eat, but maybe we should get back to reality. The problems aren't going away. In fact, they're getting bigger. The government's tiny Band-Aid on massive mortgage market is beginning to peel off. The real bleeding is about to begin. New home sales continue to plummet. Inventory continues to rise, and sale prices continue to drop. The EU over the weekend bailed out Ireland to the tune of $113 billion. The stock markets tumbled on fears that the rest of the Eurozone may not be far behind. They're right. Portugal is next, and then Spain. North Korea and South Korea dangerously close to escalating violence. And America has suffered an embarrassing leak of classified information via Wikileaks. According to some reports today, this is the largest loss of sensitive information by a world superpower in all of human history. But the question is, what did we learn from these? Is there anything new here? I've seen much of what is out there, and I've heard the people on TV talk about it. This is merely serving as confirmation of what you already knew, that the government is lying to you. I've said it before. The perfect storm, well, this is what I've said before. A perfect storm is coming. Let me change that. The perfect storm is here. Al-Qaeda announced their perfect storm strategy. It's called Operation Hemorrhage. What does it mean? Death by 1,000 paper cuts. We will bleed to death. Let's not pour lemon juice on the paper cuts. Instead, let's look at what's really going on. Blow the smoke of the media away and get to the truth. Why are these secrets being revealed today? And who is really involved? Come on. Hello, America. Glad you're here. I've never treated you like a moron, mainly because I don't believe you are a moron. And because I believe those things, I don't always take the time to fill in the blanks on what I believe you already know, or it is your responsibility as a citizen to find these things out. My comments, because of this, are routinely taken out of context. The irony is, of course, it is done so by people who do think you are stupid. People like Howard Dean, who recently admitted as much. Listen to this.
What I think I would do is, first I would bring back the fairness doctrine. So you couldn't have the spectacle of a Fox Flues, which just makes stuff up and is a propaganda outlet. You'd actually have to have some sentient human beings talking to the other side. And it would serve, MSNBC would have to do the same. They'd have to have some conservatives on there too. I think that's much better for the country. Americans don't know what's going on, and therefore the media can have their way with them intellectually.
I would ask Mr. Dean to help me out. What is it that we make up? I would ask you to just take a moment here. Do you really believe that I could, or anybody here at Fox News, could just make things up and remain on the air? No. You're not a dummy. I do expect you to know what's going on, because nefarious people will have their way with dummies. And I guarantee what I will say tonight will be taken out of context. Listen carefully. Do your own homework. There is no other television show, the reason why we make ground, there is no other television show, I think, in the history of news broadcasts that has a 20-minute monologue like I do. I can lay an awful lot of stuff out in 20 minutes. And they can chop it up any way they want and play 30 seconds of it and make it into anything. Here's Howard Dean calling for a fairness doctrine to return, and then some, so the government can force sentient human beings to be put on the air. I have warned you that there will come a time when radicals see an opportunity to take us, nonsentient human beings, down, and they will dogpile. And when that happens, the ends will justify the means. And you won't be able to trust anything. How long ago did I tell you everything that you thought you could count on, you will not be able to count on? Everything you thought was solid will be liquid, and vice versa. Now is the beginning of that time. When you watch the coverage on the WikiLeaks story, I don't want you to go with the media storyline. It's not enough. They're not telling you everything. They're not even asking the right questions. It is not as simple as they are making it out to be. These are tough adult questions that need to be asked. The media has boiled it down to this. The guy who leaked the information, bad, punish him. Shout them down, shut them down, put them all in jail. Well, you know what? He probably should go to jail and probably tried for treason. But that, to me, is not the important part of the story today. We need to look into this story deeper. What is it that he has released? Really, what has he released? Let's start with that and then ask some questions. Well, what did he release that we didn't already know? You tell me. Here's one thing that was released. Iran smuggled arms to Hezbollah during Hezbollah's war with Israel. I knew that. I talked about it on my television show and my radio show. I was called a fearmonger for doing that. The leaks showed that North Korea supplied Iran with a cache of advanced missiles based on a Russian design, much more powerful than anything Washington has publicly conceded that Tehran has in its arsenal. Did you know that? If you watched the show, you did. The leaks further suggest a possible nuclear weapon cooperation between Iran and North Korea. Does that surprise anyone? Isn't that axis of evil? The leaks also showed China is conducting computer sabotage. That the U.S. is close to the edge with Pakistan. That U.S. officials called Putin the alpha dog leader in Russia. And that the Saudis remain the chief financier of Al-Qaeda. Oh, and by the way, they also tried to get us to attack Iran because they were fearing for their own butts, getting into the crossfire of an Iran-Israel showdown. Nothing in this report so far is shocking. It's all stuff that you already knew because you watched this show or because you're not a moron. You knew it in your gut. But there are things that the government is telling you that are not true. Isn't that maybe the surprising thing here? Don't trust the government. George W. Bush was looking into Pooty Poot's eyes and saw a good man. But behind the scenes, they are saying that these guys are thugs and the alpha dog is controlling it. Really? I thought he was our friend. We're holding hands and playing footsie with the Saudis. We're so careful not to offend any of them. We won't allow investigations into the Saudi-funded school in Virginia that has produced at least 2 students who were arrested on terror threats. But Saudi Arabians are our friends. We can't even look at the curriculum at this school that teaches students that it's okay for Muslims to kill adulterers and converts from Islam. Yet, they remain the chief funder of Al-Qaeda, and the government knew that. And so did you in your gut. Publicly, politicians want to sit down and chat with dictators like Ahmadinejad and Kim Jong-il, even though privately, we now know they are working behind the scenes to help out Iran go nuclear. China conducting supercomputer sabotage or computer sabotage. Do you remember the story that didn't make any sense to us? The president himself, President Obama, said that they were going to stop looking into computer attacks from China. Do you remember all of us saying, what? Ask your friends this question, because if you've done what I've asked you to do, protect your integrity. Do not take my word. Never trust me on anything. I don't ask for your trust. I give you information, and I tell you, you can find all of this information from reliable sources. Go to the library. Look it up. You ask your friends if you've protected your integrity and you've only told them the truth, how many times do you have to be right? How many times does this show have to be right before Americans start listening to either the show or, more importantly, to their gut and not to the clowns in Washington who are lying to you? We have told you all of these things. You have checked them out and verified them on your own. And you've told your friends. We gave you as much confirmation as we could at the time. I ask you to do your own homework and make sure you're not relying on anyone but your own gut and your own knowledge. Know what you believe, because there is coming a time where you will have to be depended on. People they won't trust anyone. Are you conducting your life in such a way where they will trust you? Get rid of all of the lies in your life. Never go on someone else's information. So now, what happens from here? Well, I've told you the theory, top down, bottom up, inside out, right? And it actually is top down. You put the radicals up here at the top, and then you have, well, I put the labor unions down here. You have the real radicals that everybody knows that causes the chaos in the street, and the average American is here. And when the top comes down, when the bottom starts to rise up and cause trouble, putting pressure on you through chaos, turn you inside out. And then you beg for the top to make it go away. They coordinate with the unions and the revolutionaries on the street, and that's what you're not supposed to know, that these guys are connected to these guys. This is what led to Czechoslovakia and turned them into a communist country in 1948. Bottom up, top down, inside out. It's in fact what Van Jones preaches today. Watch.
You handle the top down, but it's also bottom up and inside out. Top down, bottom up, and inside out. So now your challenge as you leave here, our challenge, is to take care of that bottom up part.
That's what they're doing. The inside out part is the chaos, the leaks. The leaks. What does it do? It creates distrust in our government. It creates distrust in everything. It adds instability all around in an already shaky globe. How do we now negotiate with other countries when we've turned everything inside out? And what you're seeing on television now is just adding smoke. The media is leading the charge, begging for the top down. Come down, do something. Wikileaks is coming up. Stop them. Don't. Before you beg for someone to step in, let's take a deeper look at who these people are. And we're just beginning to scratch the surface. The Wikileaks guy, who is he? He's on the bottom. Is he in league with anyone? Well, let's start with the private who leaked the information to Wikileaks. What do we know about him? He's a 22-year-old intelligence analyst, Bradley Manning. Well, let me show you some of his supporters, because his supporters are very, very, very interesting. First of all, you have Code Pink, whose other endeavors include supporting the terror group Hamas. Remember the flotilla? Yeah. Wait a minute, the flotilla was Bill Ayers, Code Pink, Bernardine Dorn. Oh yeah, and they're all connected to these guys. That's right. Then you have Noam Chomsky. He's the anti-free market, let's call him a communist because he is. Then you have the anti-free market, Cuba-loving Michael Moore, the America-bashing radical leftist Daniel Ellsberg, and of course, MDS. Now what is MDS? MDS sounds an awful lot. Oh, look at the logo. MDS is SDS. This is the adult counterpart of SDS, the violent student group started in the 60s. Started in the 60s. Oh, yeah. Started in the 60s by this guy. Then you also have the Answer Coalition and Veterans for Peace. Now, these are the people who just support this guy. What a coincidence. It's a real coincidence, because if you look at the groups involved with this rally, you'll notice that they're all the same. Code Pink, Veterans for Peace, Answer Coalition. And you know what's really strange about that is they got their funding from the Tides Foundation. And the Tides Foundation gets much of their funding from George Soros, which is weird, through OSI. Oh, by the way, this guy, the guy who founded SDS, he runs OSI for George Soros. Isn't that weird? Now, Manning expected fallout, and here's how he predicted it and described it. Quote, everywhere there's a U.S. post, there's a diplomatic scandal that will be revealed. It's open diplomacy, worldwide anarchy in CSV format. It's ClimateGate with a global scope and breathtaking depth. It's beautiful and horrifying. Now, for those of you who don't know what CSV is, because I didn't, it's a computer file format. How many people do you know described worldwide anarchy as, quote, beautiful and horrifying.